सिया राम जय जय राम सिया राम सिया राम जय जय राम सिया राम।
चल सबको रिझाता चल, सबसे निभाता चल, सबको रिझाता चल।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We have been studying desire and wisdom, how desire and wisdom are inversely proportional. E.J. Hong, are you new to the class? I don't think I've seen your name before. E.J. Hong?
Yes,
Okay, nice. Welcome to the class. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from South Korea.
Oh, okay, great, wonderful. I think you're our first person from South Korea.
Thank you.
So this is the book we are doing in this class. And we are studying the book. I mean, we're reading it together and understanding it as we go on. The book talks about happiness and how we can guarantee it for ourselves. If you watch the world, anything in the world, anything that you can get for yourself from this world can never guarantee you happiness. But Vedanta makes us a promise that it will guarantee happiness. So either it is talking completely through its hat, or here is something for us to investigate. So that's what we're investigating. Can it be true that happiness can be guaranteed? So we have done a bit of the book already. Now our current topic is desire and wisdom. Excuse me. We just adjust the temperature. So we are on the topic desire and wisdom. The cause of every agitation in the world is the absence of wisdom. When there is no wisdom, or to the extent there is no wisdom, the desire level in us goes up. We desire objects and beings from the world. Now, the world, unfortunately, doesn't always cater, doesn't always fulfill these demands that we have on objects and beings, and that's how we get agitated. So, what is the solution? If the wisdom levels go up, desire levels come down, to the extent you have wisdom, you are guaranteed happiness. What is it that what kind of happiness does wisdom give us as opposed to the other types of happiness?
Independent.
Independent happiness. Very good. It gives us independent happiness. Today, we are reliant upon the world to make us feel nice. If my husband speaks sweetly to me, I feel nice. If he speaks badly, I'm going to feel terrible. If my children do well, I feel happy. If they do badly, I feel terrible. If I get money, if my bosses praise me, I'm happy. If they don't, I'm miserable. If my friends are good to me, I'm happy. If they aren't, I'm miserable. Every time I'm expecting things of this world to keep me happy. If I meet traffic, I'm miserable. If I get a clean road, I'm happy. So I'm constantly expecting that everything in this world is going to be the way I would like it to be. And when it's not, I am miserable. Okay, so far, so good. So, what we were studying is that when our happiness is fulfilled, when our desires are fulfilled, we feel happy. When they are unfulfilled, we feel unhappy. And this is a trap we are in. Because can you always guarantee that your desire will be fulfilled? You cannot guarantee. So, what is the way out of this trap? Is to increase the level of wisdom. Because as wisdom increases, desires reduce. Seems like there's an illusion in the air, but I cannot identify what could it be over here. Okay, so far so good. Now shall we proceed? Any questions? EJ Hong, what's your name? What do we call you? Your name Hong EJ what?
You can call me EJ. That's absolutely fine. It my original name is Eun Jung, but EJ is something that people in the US used to call me, so that's fine.
Oh, okay, EJ is good for us too. Most people call me JS also. Many people call me JS. So EJ, is it okay up to this point? Are you good? Any questions?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Have you been exposed to Vedanta before, or is this your first?
Yes, I have actually gone several times to Vedanta classes in New York in
Oh,
Upper East Side. So yeah, that's how I am familiar with with the Vedanta classes, and also Bhagavad Gita I was listening to as well. So I have some familiarity with the Vedanta study.
okay, that's good. Otherwise, I mean, sometimes it's very difficult to know where to start from to keep everybody on the same page. Okay, so that's good. There is somebody called Zoom user. Who is this? Is it somebody from class or new? Who is Zoom user? Okay. All right. So, something. All right. So, right. So, shall we proceed? Uh, Vedanta serves us both ways, right? One is it tells you that that if you don't increase your wisdom, you cannot have long-lasting happiness. But very surprisingly, it also tells you how to fulfill your desires. It's a very, very strange phenomenon, right? On one hand, you tell me if I fulfill my desires, happiness is not going to be guaranteed. On the other hand, you encouraging me to fulfill my desires and telling me how to fulfill them. Then, if I'm not going to find happiness, why are you making me fulfill my desires? Doesn't make sense, right? So, why is it that if by fulfilling desires, I'm not going to find happiness, then why do I have to fulfill them? And why are you teaching me? Okay, maybe I will fulfill them, but why are you teaching me to do it? So that's the next point we have to cover. If there is no lasting happiness to be found from it, then why should desires be fulfilled? This is because if one didn't, one would get frustrated. That leads to other repercussions. Can you tell me what are the other repercussions if you don't fulfill your desires?
Lashing out at others,
Sorry?
lashing out at others,
Lashing
undue
out
anger,
at others. Undue anger, very good. What else?
Getting bitter about the object that you haven't been able to achieve.
Very good. Sour grapes, correct. What else?
your other desires will be blown out of proportion.
Other desires can get blown out of proportion. What else?
To feel fear and anxiety.
You feel fear and anxiety, correct? You know, very often in life, if you have left a lot of your desires, important desires, unfulfilled, you get unexplained agitations, either out of fear or anxiety or anger or something. Unexplained. There's nothing happening. Like, for instance, there's nothing to be frightened of, but you'll feel frightened. There's nothing to get angry. I mean, it's not like somebody was rude to you or something happened, but you get angry. So your mind is expressing all these emotions, and there's no external cause for it. It's a very, very
Have
strange.
low self-esteem and think of yourself to be a loser.
Yeah, that way also. That's also a possibility. A lot of possibilities of not, but the most important one, and really um, relevant to us, is you know which one?
We won't strive for growth.
You will give up your Vedanta studies eventually. Because the frustration will be so much, you'll get up in the morning, you cannot study. Because it's frustrated. So it is true that even if you were to fulfill your desires, you will not find guaranteed happiness. On the other hand, if you don't fulfill your desires, you will be a miserable person. So it sounds like, make up your mind now. What do you want me to do? So you can't ignore your desires, because remember, our desires are
Us,
very good. Our desires are us. What are you ignoring? You can't ignore it. It is you and me and everybody. There is no personality without those desires. Your personality is created by those desires. So, what are you trying to ignore? Any gadget, if it is not used for the purpose it is made, it will only rot, right? So, what happens is you start stagnating. You go into rajas, which is all the agitations, and you go into tamas, which is all the stagnation. So, you can't just say, okay, I'm not going to get anything out of fulfilling my desire. I'm not going to fulfill them. You can't do that. You can't also say, oh my God, I'm going to be so frustrated if I don't fulfill my desires. I'm going to go all out and fulfill them. You can't do that either. You have only one option. You don't have an alternative. What's your option?
To use your intellect.
Morning studies.
Okay, correct. But in context, you say.
To
You have
gain
to
wisdom.
gain wisdom.
Develop the wisdom.
Yeah, very good. Mahesh, nice to see you're concentrating. Develop wisdom. Follow the line of thought. Don't go here and there. Exhaust them with wisdom. Yes. Develop wisdom. Develop an understanding of life, the entire process of life. And when you understand this, the futility of futile things becomes clear. That's all you have to do. It's not very complicated. That is why, even for the university, what is the purpose? Like, what are you going to make this young person do? Basically, just understand what is the whole picture of things. And how is this person going to understand? By being part of life. We have divorced education from life. It's part of life. So you're getting electricity. How does that electricity come to you? You're getting food. How does that food come to you? Okay. Then what are you going to do with all the waste? Just understand the whole picture. The more you are able to see the picture of things, the more correct your decisions go. Because you're able to sort of put the piece in the jigsaw at the right time in the right place. You get it. That's what we have to do. Now, there's no university, so we have to do it as best we can with what we have. But if each one of us in this class just understand the whole picture and function, we will not only benefit ourselves, we'll be beacons for everybody else. So let's work at it. So at the moment, let us answer the question. If there is no lasting happiness from it, then why should desires be fulfilled? This is because if one didn't, one would get frustrated. That leads to other repercussions. But fulfilling alone is not the key. As can be seen from the lives of those who did that. When you look at anybody whose life has been about fulfilling desires, what has come of it? It is the curse of the lottery. Not everyone who won a large lottery ended up happier than they had been. You know, now so many lotteries have been there and so much research has happened. Okay, people won the lottery and made like stupendous amounts of money. Then what happened? Were they happy? In most cases, they lost it all. And yet, some did achieve better satisfaction. It is important to take note of the difference between these two sets of people. Otherwise, we end up with the cliche money is the source of all evil. No, it is not. It does appear so sometimes. Right? So, people have won the lottery and really messed up their lives. So, you feel like saying, oh, money is such a horrible thing. But some people won the lottery and didn't mess up their lives. So it's not the money, it's your understanding. What are you doing with the money that counts? Otherwise, it's easy not to say, oh, what is there in money? Money is useless. What do you mean money is useless? If all of us in this class did not have sufficient funds, we could not come to this class. You need a device, you need electricity, you need all this. No? Where did it come from? You bought it with your money. So there's no point just saying, making all these silly statements. So uh, if you fulfill your desires, happiness is not guaranteed. If you don't fulfill your desires, is happiness guaranteed? No, then also. So it's not like you have this option, fulfill or don't fulfill. You have to fulfill. But you have to do it wisely. Deep Raj. Same with power corrupts. Correct. It's not the power, but the person who is corrupt. That's right. Power is very good, right? Imagine if we had the power today to deal with climate change. Wouldn't that be great? Suppose we had the power today by which we could alleviate poverty. Wouldn't that be great? It's not the power that's the problem. It is what I do with the power that's the problem. If I was prime minister of this land and I used it to get a bigger Swiss account, then there's a problem here. But if I was prime minister of this country and I did Ch2.11, I made sure everybody had a washroom, or I electrified villages, or I got accounts open for every poor person. That's something worth having power for, right? So, why should we fulfill our desires? Because if you didn't, you'd be frustrated. When you're frustrated, you will give up the pursuit of wisdom. You won't be able to pursue wisdom. So you make your situation even worse. Yes, Bharat?
The frustration would come from stronger unfulfilled desires, right? If the bigger desires don't get fulfilled and you are able to handle them, that won't cause frustration, correct? Okay.
It doesn't matter about the strength of the desire. What matters is
The strength of intellect.
how are you directing it? Because, suppose you have like a 50 very weak desires and you didn't handle it properly, you will be frustrated. If it's one or two desires, okay, you can push it aside. That's the symbolism of the hair. In many religious traditions, they pluck the hair out. It's supposed to be bald. Now, why hair? So, why? Because hair is supposed to represent desires. So, you're supposed to pluck out your desire. Now, please don't try all that, okay? Praj, next time you come all shaven. No, it doesn't look like that. Life does not that easy. You take out your hair and you become. Otherwise, Yul Brynner would have been a realized soul by now. Or any of these people. Or who Persis Kambata. I don't know if these young kids know all these people now. Who is anybody? Nowadays, nobody does that, no? Joyce, you heard of Persis Kambata? She was in one of the movies, an Indian girl, and for the movie role, she had to shave off all her hair. And she got like cult status in this country because she did that. I mean, like, I don't know anything about her other than the fact that she had removed all her hair. That's all I know. So, why she became famous, I don't know, but it was Ella 30, 40 years, 50 years ago, probably, where women were all very nice and sweet and not like women today. And so she did something so bold, So she had cult status. So by removing hair, our desires are not going. It's just represented. Now, why did they choose hair to represent desire? Then, you
Because
pull
of
one
this,
hair. Huh? What?
because like If you lose one or two, it really doesn't matter.
If you not lose, if you just pull one or two, you can do it. It's no problem. But if you pick this whole thing and pull the whole thing out, can you imagine your scalp will come with it? So painful, no? Somebody pulls one hair, nothing will happen. Just one. Will come out. So your desires, what should I say? They hold one another. So Bharat, even if it's a very weak desire, but there's a bunch of them, you'll still reach the same story.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
I'm not sure if there is a connection, but the hijab is supposed to cover the hair because it's supposed to be a symbol of sensuality. So I'm not sure if there is a connection with here the symbolism behind showing the hair or not showing the hair.
Maybe it's a good point. Most religious traditions symbolize things. So you're probably correct. Maybe a good way of that, because sensuality is the first kind of desire that we recognize.
Mm.
So
Yes.
when you claim it as sensuality, you understand that's a desire.
Mm-hmm.
But love of a parent for a child or working for the nation, we don't recognize these things as desires. Or the love of study and books. So sensuality is the first kind of desire that is recognized, and hence, instead of telling people it's about desires, they say it's about sensuality. It's about the senses.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's possible. It is possible that the original person meant desires, and then it was simplified into sensual desires at one point of time.
Mm.
So, good. I mean, a good correlation. Probably. I mean, we don't know. We have to study what they are trying to say, but it sounds like a reasonable thing
Mm-hmm.
to correlate.
Yeah.
Okay. Scenarios of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Now we'll study all about how this proportion of desires and wisdom brings about different scenarios of being happy or unhappy. The ratio between wisdom and happiness can be understood through various scenarios. You remember what's the ratio? What's the ratio?
Desires inversely proportional to wisdom.
Very excellent. So 20% wisdom means
80%
80%.
desire.
80% desires. Very good. The ratio between wisdom and happiness can be understood through various scenarios. We go through fluctuating happiness because the world caters to our desires randomly. Right? That's obvious, right? At some random desires are being catered to. The world is not trying to fulfill our desires. Random desires will get fulfilled. Which one will get fulfilled? You don't know. Random desires will get fulfilled. When life is the way we like it, we are happy, and when it is not, we are unhappy. When the desires in quantum are few and largely satisfied, one may be able to take some deprivation in one's stride. Suppose you have very few desires, and whatever few desires you have are largely fulfilled. Now you mean deprivation, means now some desire is not being fulfilled. What will be your happiness quotient? Be reasonably okay. You wanted very little, you've got a lot of what you want, and so something doesn't come, you're okay, you take it in your stride. But if a person needs 60% and gets only 10%, it would be very difficult for him to be happy. If 50% of his needs are not being met, of that proportion is not being met, you can't tell such a person be happy. You can't go to that person and say, okay, now you must understand that life is full of ups and downs. You must take it in your stride. Just because you're able to take your deprivation in stride. You don't know what that person's condition is. So if a person needs 60% and gets only 10%, it would be very difficult for him to be happy. When you understand these scenarios, I hope that makes us all charitable towards other people's agitations. Sometimes you're in a position where you can't help but get agitated. On the other hand, if a person needed 60% and got 55%, he could probably train himself to put up with the discomfort. You see the difference? Both are wanting the same thing. But one has got only 10%, the other has got 55%. Now you can't say these two are on the same plane. You just can't. Because this 55% could probably just put up with it, maybe. So now you see, suppose you have got 55% and somebody has got only 10%, then you say, "Arey, put up with it. No, it was such a small thing." But no, that person can't because the backlog of deprivation is so high. If a person requires 60% but has 80%, she experiences rich abundance. Imagine you wanted 60, but you got 80. She would readily give as she experiences a happy surplus. Thus, we see spiritually mature people as being highly unselfish. If the person's needs are only 20% but has 30%, she has 10% in excess. Giving comes easy to her. On the other hand, if a person needs 60% but has only 30, she will find it painfully difficult to give anything. This explains
This explains why you have so less.
what?
Why it's so difficult for us to get donations.
That explains why the amount of donation a person gives or any giving the person does has got nothing to do with his financial status. People with low financial status sometimes are bigger givers than people with a higher financial status. Just the other day, somebody from class came and gave a really big donation, which was really surprising because that person is not in the kind of doesn't appear to be in the kind of financial state that would permit that kind of donation. So, but you understand, right? For that person, this amount is excess. It's okay to give it. Another person with exactly the same financial resources, but desires are much more, will find it impossible to give this amount. So you must have noticed, right, in life, rich people don't give. It's not necessary that a richer person will give you a bigger donation than a poorer person. It's just not necessary. And that's how you understand it. That what a person is giving has to be what that person finds surplus. But when will he find surplus? When all his desires are met, then only he can find surplus. No? It's interesting when you do the analysis and you begin to see, you begin to understand why all this is functioning the way it's functioning. Thus, we see spiritually mature people as being highly unselfish. Yeah, Bharat.
So with rich people, I mean, even if they seem to get a big surplus. The behavior doesn't change. So that's often visible in so many people. So what explains that?
That they were already in deficit. Let us say a person has 20% wisdom and requires 80% from the world. But currently he has got 50. Now you gave him 20. His need was 80. So he's still in deficit of 10. So how can he give?
But in his head, does he have a specific number that,
No,
so
he
what is
doesn't
he
have
what is he looking for?
satisfaction. But wealth, satisfaction in wealth, which he's just not finding. When you feel satisfied with your wealth, you may not be able to explain to anybody else. So why are you feeling so satisfied with your wealth? But you are feeling satisfied. So you're a bigger giver. I mean, for you, it is in excess. So you're happy to give it.
So I mean that satisfaction, it seems that it'll always elude him.
It will elude him a lot until he's able to get much more than what his requirement are. But the satisfaction will elude him because his mind will then go to the next thing. Unless
The
he's
mind
stupid, of course.
possibility of the mind getting greedy is a lot more than satisfaction coming in.
It's not, no, wait. Firstly, this person cannot experience. You're assuming that he received, let's say, 5 million and therefore he should be happy. That is not true. That's what we are discussing at the moment. How, if your desires are 80%, by you moving up from 50 to 70, you're not going to experience surplus. You're seeing the money he got. You're not seeing the deprivation he is experiencing. Is that clear?
Yes, somewhat.
You'll see it all the time. You'll see people getting a windfall, but they can't give. And others, you will see that they have very little, but they wish to share it with people.
Like a person winning a lottery in millions. I mean, never would have he thought that I'll be getting that. So even after getting that, the charitable instinct is not revived.
Because he is not fulfilled, no, as yet. Okay, try and see it as let's say here's a girl. She wants to buy like really fancy purses and I don't know, whatever they spend their money on, really good gowns and whatever it is, go to some fancy place on a holiday and all that. So at the moment, what is she able to do? Maybe she's able to buy a certain level of branded goods. And maybe she can take one holiday a year abroad. But what she'd love to do is, be flying first and go plenty of times in the year. This is what she wants. Now she got 1 million. Now what will she do? She will use that million to fulfill all the deprivation she's been going through. She had to fly economy. She'll move that over to first class. She had to buy brands like, I don't know, some maybe Indian brands. She'll move to Hermes. She in each area, like imagine if she has like 100 desires for these things. In each area, she's moving up. So her million is over. What is she going to give anyone?
Yes. What a
Or,
curse of a life.
huh?
What a curse of a life.
Well, as long as the wisdom is low, desires are high, and then you can't, there's nothing you can do. And a person viewing who understands this just understands these causal relationships. What do you say? It's like a child has 10 toys but wants 20 and he gets 19. He's not going to share his toys because he's in deprivation. He wanted 20, he's got only 19. Another child wanted 2 toys. He's got 2. The third one he will share very easily with people because he's already taken care of. But that child with 19 cannot share. It's not possible for him as of now.
Yes.
So that's why you understand, it becomes very matter of fact. Person can't do it at the moment. It won't be done.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, Aditi.
So Janki ji, how can you correlate insecurity? For example, he's not being able to share is because he's insecure that I have to look after my family or I need this XYZ. So how do you correlate that with the desire or the lacuna?
Same thing. To the extent you don't have wisdom, you'll always have insecurity. It stands to reason, right? If I need something and there's a possibility of my not having it, how am I going to be secure? Impossible. It can't happen. If I don't need it, I'm secure. If I need to have a Mercedes and there's some chance of you taking my Mercedes away, I'm terribly insecure. But if I don't need the Mercedes, I'm okay. Even if I happen to be using one.
So it's basically wisdom in that particular area that if you have, then you are being able to be objective about things. Okay, another thing that the boy who had 19 toys, 2 toys or 19, whatever the ratios, but could also want, after his desires being met, could then also go up to greed and say that, "Oh, I want the third one and I don't want to give that toy away." Not
Yeah, that he can control. That you can apply your intellect and control or not control. But up to the 2 or the 19 or the 20, as the case may be, nothing you can do about it.
But this is quantifiable. What is something that is not quantifiable? How would you know that the lacuna is over in that area and it's greed or it's just a lacuna yet?
How would you know means you will know. You will know that if I didn't get it, I'll still be okay. You will instinctively know this. Your intellect will tell you, no, you don't really need that. No. You're okay. And if you fulfill it, you will not feel particular happiness. You will not get the great kick that you had got earlier.
So how do you explain hoarders? Like they have a lot of things of the same thing. They may have, so you mean to say that they don't have their desires fulfilled in that area? Like if they have 500 clothes or 500 shoes, they still have more desire for those many more shoes?
It's not just that many more shoes. It is to do with their level of wisdom. They believe that by this more and more acquisition, somehow I will be secure, I will be happy, I will whatever their theory in life is. And so they go on doing it. If we are looking at 500 and saying it's too much, for that person may or may not be. We can't tell.
So it's basically boils down to the wisdom part. Okay. Thank you, Janki.
So, what is heaven? You had 60, but you got 80. Imagine how secure you feel. You feel fantastic. You can share, you're secure, you're confident, everything is fantastic for you. So, as you grow spiritually, what happens is your needs come down, but you had what you had, so you feel great. So, that person, if the person's needs are only 20% but has 30%, she has 10% in excess. Very generous, very charitable. Giving comes easy to her. On the other hand, if a person needs 60% but has only 30%, she will find it painfully difficult to get anything away. So we are always looking at that number. She has 40 bags, why can't she give it away? But her desire is for 80, so how can she give it? As far as she is concerned, there's deprivation. Her desires have not been met. And that explains why people of equal financial standing or amenities are not equal givers. You've seen that, right? Everyone has seen this. If a person needs 80% and has 70%, he is miserable. He needs our sympathy as much as a person who needs 30 and has 20. People don't get this at all. Everybody in the world wants to help poor people. But if that poor fellow needed 30, but he has 20, he is just as miserable as the person who needed 80 but has 70. We feel we have to help only poor people somehow. We never realize that that's not really so. We cannot make judgments on others' misery and assert that they have no right to be miserable. We are quite cruel when it comes to people with more amenities and facilities. We have a view that you should not have been miserable. You have enough. You should not be miserable. Who am I to tell whether somebody else has enough or not? If someone is miserable, he is. Who are we to pass judgment? Only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. We need to walk a mile in another's shoes to know how it feels for him. Being objective is being able to perceive how another person feels from where he is, not how I feel from where I am. You understand this with reference to children, right? When your child is saying, I want a Barbie doll, do you ever turn around to the child and say, what do you want a Barbie doll for? I don't want Barbie dolls. Would you ever say that? Because you're objective to understand that this person at this stage will ask for this. Imagine if an adult kept telling a child, oh, you want marbles? I don't want marbles. It's not an adult, it's a child who talks like that. What I feel from where I am is not indicative of how another person feels from where he is. And I have to know this. How can we judge other people's sorrow? How can we? Oh, he's got so much. But look how he's complaining. He's complaining because he's feeling the complaint, right? Nobody's complaining when they're not feeling the complaint. So if someone around you is complaining, it's time for
Some empathy.
empathy.
Some empathy.
Very good. Time for empathy. You are feeling miserable. I'll feel miserable with you because I care how you feel. Otherwise, you'll sit on a high chair. Oh, I don't feel like that. I don't see why you should feel like that because I don't feel like that. That's nonsense. You feel what you feel. And if I have an iota of heart, I should be able to understand what you're feeling from where you are. But when you understand this ratio of desires and wisdom, you begin to see how it is inevitable. It's not like that person has a choice to not complain. Just like a child has no choice not to play with toys. And you also understand where the child has a choice. That also you can see. That's called maturity. If anyone needs something you don't, then you see that person as a child. You understand that person needs it. You want to argument on why do you need it? What kind of argument is that? Why do I need it means what? If I need it, I need it. Who are you to tell me whether I should need it or not? So you begin to look upon these people more and yourself as well. That's where I am now and that's what I need now. Yes, Bharat.
So where does empathy stop exactly? Because there's a tendency in people to cash in.
Empathy never stops. Your expression of empathy will be moderated by your intellect. Why would empathy stop? Completely understand.
Yeah, the expression of it.
That depends on the situation. Whatever your intellect bids you do is what you do. Okay?
Yes.
Empathy, please, for all those, especially from new people today. Vijaya Pant, are you new?
Yes, I am. I joined today. Yes, I do not. I was, missing out this your Zoom sessions. I'm sorry. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Most welcome.
Yeah,
So you have been studying Vedanta before?
I do read. I do read, but I am, just a novice like anybody, and not very much in search of what we should know.
Sure, sure. Most welcome to the
Yeah,
class.
thank you so much. Dhanyavad.
It's all clear so far, right? Yeah, so far so good.
Huh.
What about EJ? Are you okay so far? Any questions? EJ? Deep Raj, today was very helpful. To be charitable towards our and other people's desire is something we sometimes forget on the path. Yes, you can get so judgmental so fast, no? Always have a view on other people. How come that person isn't doing karma yoga? I'm doing so much.
Very true. You're very true. I mean, you stated very truly. Our attitude towards others is very judgmental, and we forget that we are also in the on the same at the same level. We are also we also suffer from the same faults. You are right, absolutely.
Even if we are at a higher level, we still have to understand where that person is and what that person needs.
Absolutely, that compassion has to be there. That comprehension has to be there. You're right.
Okay, EJ, good. I'm glad it's okay. So let's continue. So I hope you're able to see that this whole concept about wisdom and desire is an important one for us to get because it just sorts things out in our head. Let's see what else can we learn from it. So if a person needs 80 and has 70, he's miserable and needs our sympathy just as much as a person who needs 30 but has 20. We cannot make judgments on another's misery and assert they have no right to be miserable. If someone is miserable, he is. Who are we to pass judgment? Only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. We need to walk a mile in another's shoes to see how it feels for him. Have you walked in his shoes? Means, have you understood what having so much desire and not having it fulfilled means? You understand that before you give him any advice. You notice, right? They're all great philosophers as long as the problem is somebody else. Very easy for all of us to give advice. But suppose I was there, then what? Being objective is being able to perceive how another person feels from where he is. You have to get to where he is, not how I feel from where I am. Okay, this topic clear? Any questions? All right, let's go to the next one. Okay. The problems of dissatisfaction. The judgment of whether one should desire something or not is futile. Please underline this word, thing. Both for ourselves as well as for others, we are judging. Should somebody want this? It could be another person, it could be myself. Should this desire be there? There's no should. Vedanta does not appreciate shoulds. It only appreciates
The fact.
is or is not. That's all that we are concerned with. There's no should. He should not want this. She should not want this. He should want this. She should want this. There's no should. Should is a bad word for us. So it either is so or it is not so. That's all we are concerned with. The judgment of whether one should desire something or not is futile. Should one want a car or a diamond or a second home is a futile question. Either one wants it or not. If someone wants something, what Daniel can come to judgment that it should not be desired? Who is supposed to tell somebody else that you should not have this desire? Desires are simply a fact of life. They are. They exist. They need to be attended to, not judged in vain as to whether they should exist or not. What are you so judging whether it should be or not? It's like saying, oh, there should be no winter. What do you mean there should be no winter? There is. Oh, there should be no summer. What's that even supposed to mean? There is. There should be no corruption. What do you mean? There is. Start from what is. Start from what is. Desires are simply a fact of life. They are. They exist. They need to be attended to, not judged in vain as to whether they should exist or not. They do exist. That's the ground reality. It's always very easy to dismiss another's desires. That amounts to cruelty, as that person's desires are as important to him or her as mine are to me. When you start denying anyone their desires, it is actually cruelty. If we practice this little bit of kindness, the world would be a less harsh place. Not having a desired object feels terrible. To not have anyone sympathetic to this, our very human emotion, makes it only more difficult. Suppose I want something and you tell me, oh, you should not want it. It's not helping me, it's making my situation worse. We all have suffered this, right? I wanted something and I cannot have it. We all have suffered this. This is not an unusual thing for any of us. So how come we don't recognize it when another person goes through? To not have anyone sympathetic to this, our very human emotion. All of us on this globe have felt this. It only makes it more difficult. Let us work together and make sure everyone is happy. What does that mean? Let us work together and make sure everyone is happy. Do we, as a conscious practice in life, always try to see how everybody involved can be happy? In Mumbai, 50% of the messages on most of the building groups are who parked the car here, who parked the car there. That is 50% of the messages are somebody has blocked my parking, somebody has taken my parking. All our messages all the time. So the people whose parking it is, they are very irritated with those people who have parked in their place, obviously. But now put yourself in a car driver's place. There is not an inch anywhere to park. What is he supposed to do with his car? Put it in his pocket and take it somewhere? How come we don't understand both points of view? When it is my parking, I'm in Bhagavat. I'm rebelling under these horrible people who have parked in my place. When it's somebody else's parking, then again I'm in the fighting mood. Where do you want me to park? How come we can't come up with a solution that everybody has this thing met, Understand. Let's figure out a way by which both sides can be accommodated. So this charitable instinct, if we all develop, this world would be a very happy place. Okay, so that's it for today. We will continue next time. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Namaskar. It
Hari
was
Om Janki
very
ji.
beautiful. It was beautiful. And as you say, we have to be very conscious when we do things.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Janki ji.